And we're live here, Double Double Podcast. Welcome. I got my main man, Doug, with me here, ready to go here. Again, another week here, wrapping up the NBA this week. A lot of action coming this way. Saturday night, still about 5 games out there still to be decided. Kings and Nuggets going at it right now on the West Coast. So we'll be sure to get into that. Got my brother, Casey Breyer, out here joining us this week. We're going to get into a lot this week. We're going to get into, obviously, we'll get into a little Warriors with my brother on here with their tough loss this week. We'll get into some West Coast storylines. I got some questions to Doug about his Cavs as well. Jalen Brunson, that's the story he's been. We got to focus on that. Our in-season tournament picks, we got to get those ones out of the way as well. And of course, always Doug now, a tradition here on Double Double. We'll give you this date in history here in the NBA. So we'll give you that as well. Doug, we'll start to you out there in Ohio. I see you got the Ohio State in the background. Tough loss last week. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Just a lot of sports going on right now. College basketball, college football, NBA. I mean, we're just busy right now. Cavs ended up getting the win against the really bad Detroit Pistons tonight. So any win you'll take. But just trying to consume a lot of sports at this moment. How are you guys doing tonight?
Case, how you doing there?
Oh, shoot, man. I'm fantastic, man. Got a day off. It was a hard week of work, but, the daily grind, Monday through Friday. But once you make that, there's nothing forward to looking like on a Saturday when you wake up and you go, laundry day. But it's a day. Like, love it.
But that's the worst.
But sports-wise, man, I'm just, I'm so pumped. It's just a great time. Sports fan, basketball.
Is Iowa gained a yard yet? Is Iowa gained a yard?
It's just so bad. I just you get to the point where like you kind of respect that they win 10 games a year with just one side of the ball, but at the same time, it's like, could you not recruit just one offensive player that resembles, an NFL caliber talent? Like their offense is just so limited. It's really hard to watch.
I feel like they always at least had a running back, right? I feel like they at least had a running back.
Maybe they do. I mean, they'll randomly have a tight end, but you don't know about the tight end going to Iowa until they're in the NFL, and they're like, oh, he went to Iowa. Like George Kittle wasn't great at Iowa, and all of a sudden he's fantastic in the NFL. Like they've had a couple of those type guys that are just.
We got a big game out here this week, Doug. Niners, Eagles as well, Casey. We got that looking forward to this week. But we got some NBA stuff too that we got to get into this week here on the Double Double Podcast. Doug, I thought it was good timing. We ended up doing the Magic breakdown last week, and then the Magic ended up going on a 9-game win streak still at this time. So you end up having that with them going on. What do you think about them still continuing that win streak? I think they ended up losing tonight. Yes, they did break it tonight. They kept it going. Maybe just a quick little intro on them as they kind of kept it going this week.
I mean, so here's the thing. The more I watch the Magic, the more and more I keep believing in these guys going forward. We know that they're playing without Wendell Carter right now. He's injured, so they're trying to make shift with Goga and Mo Wagner as like a rotating centerpiece. Those guys, they're solid role players, but they're not starting caliber players. So they have a little dip at center right now. But yeah, tonight they got beat by Brooklyn. Brooklyn really played well. Bridges had 42. Dinwiddie had 22, and Cam Thomas had 20. I mean, that's really hard to beat. So yeah, they're 9 or 10 game win streak. Got ended tonight, but they've been playing really good basketball, and they're the 2 seed in the East. I mean, that's really impressive in my opinion for a team that we thought probably was a year away from really getting into that mix. They've shown that they're ready to compete right now.
They might have the best bench.
They're definitely in that conversation because
they might. Mo Wagner is like who's this guy become? I mean, this guy is unreal. I mean, I'm serious. Like every night I'm looking up, he's giving them 10 points off the bench. He's not like somebody you were expecting that. He's sometimes even giving them more. And then you got Anthony, who didn't even play well today, and they still the other day against the Wizards or somebody like that they should have beat, but they end up getting the win anyways. Magic we touched on them a lot last week. my Warriors, they lose 113 to 112 today. Did you see any of the highlights of that game today? I mean, you talk about a team that looks like they just can't finish games now, Doug. I mean, they just can't finish. I mean, to the Clippers' credit, they hung with it. Leonard hit clutch shots like he always does, going right, fading.
Yeah.
He's not
really
missing anything on 2 dribbles to the right. And so he goes there and fades away. He keeps him close. Westbrook hit a few threes. The Warriors played well. I mean, Green hit 4 threes. He had 21 points, and they still could not hold on. Moody played well. Those are some things you like. The rookie out of Santa Clara, you like those things. But, man, they just can't finish. So I guess my question to you is both teams have like 9 wins. They're kind of right around the same record-wise here. Who do you believe in more, Clippers or Warriors? I mean, the Warriors just beat them the other day too, right? At home. The Warriors should have won today. They were up 22. But if I had to tell you today, which team are you believing in at the end of the day? We'll go farther. Who are you taking?
Probably still going to go for the edge to Curry just because I respect him that much.
Wow. Okay.
But at the same time, the problem with the Clippers is always going to be health. And if they had better health history, I think they're the right choice because
let's just say they stay as is right now.
Okay, if they're healthy, then I would take the Clippers because I think it's a lot less demanding on
that says a lot about the Warriors.
On those 3 guys. So Harden, Kawhi, Paul George, they can share the wealth a little bit more than where Steph has to be fantastic every single night, it feels like, for them to win right now. Does that make sense to you that it's easier to spread that around? And if Steph's not the best player in the league on a given night, the Golden State can't close out a game. And I think that's kind of wearing on him, to be honest. In my opinion, I think he's getting a little worn out having to be the guy and the help not being there. Help was there tonight. They just ended up kind of withering away there at the end, but
dumb mistakes, consistently dumb mistakes. I mean, they're up by 5 the last 2 losses with under 40 seconds left. You should win those games. Those are games you should win most of the time.
I mean, so what happened today? Because you guys only had 13 turnovers, and I mean, that's not terrible. I mean, the Warriors they turn the ball over a lot in general. So what was the I saw
they went cold in the second half.
I saw they outscored the Warriors by 12 in the third and then 8 in the fourth. I mean, just did the shooting go cold there in the third and fourth?
Yep. Most of those shots came earlier in the game. Moody was the one that kept it going. He's been the one that's been kind of like the standout here. Like, you're kind of one positive if I'm taking something away from him early here with it. But to the Clippers' credit too, though. So it sounds like you're taking the Clippers if everybody's healthy. That's what I'm banking it on.
Yeah,
it's a tough call for me, man. That's why I threw it out there. I mean, obviously, I'm going to take the Warriors as a Warriors fan, but
for sure.
I mentioned it also in a tweet. I said I think the Warriors feel like they're done without a trade. I don't think that they're not making a championship with this roster. They foul too much. They don't rebound enough. They're not making a championship with this roster. So I feel like, and that's somebody that's been a fan for a long time, doesn't watch every game, but watches close to almost every game. And that's for a long period of time. And you just see themes throughout your good teams. And this team has the theme of, well, we're going to turn the ball over and we're going to foul. And so until they get somebody that steps up, and Moody's stepping up, but
I really like his game. I really do.
I don't know if he's enough, though. You know what I mean? I don't know if he's quite the game changer they need, but he's there. You just give him somebody else like Williams, get back to your reality, and then we're good there. Then we add him into it. And Kerr needs to be able to man up a little bit and sit Klay Thompson in situations that are tough. Like the other night, he said this in the radio interview. He's all, because of guys like Moody and Looney, where sometimes they can take criticism or they'll go with things a little easier. It's easier to sit them knowing they won't complain. You know what I mean?
Coachability.
Yeah, but they won't even complain about it. I think he didn't want to deal with Klay kind of, complaining about that stuff with it. What's up, Steve? It's all your Philadelphia Sixers podcast there. Thanks for joining us this evening. Go ahead there.
Steve. When was the last time Embiid flopped? Darren, I got a hypothetical for you that I saw on the Bill Simmons show. Did you by any chance listen to him?
I didn't.
Would you trade Wiggins and Kuminga for Siakam?
No.
Why not?
I just don't think
your current Wiggins. You wouldn't trade him and Kuminga for Siakam, who's a borderline all-star.
I just feel like you're continuing to cut depth with a team that needs at least depth. I don't like that move.
All right.
We're playing Corey Joseph for goodness sakes in the fourth quarter right now. Like, this is ridiculous.
Why was Paul and Wiggins out tonight? Just rest or what?
Yeah, well, Wiggins a sore finger. Paul's out a while. Peyton's out 2 months. Paul has nerve damage in his knee a little bit, so he could be out of who knows a couple months.
Sore finger with those injuries, and he's not playing. That's rough.
So yep.
Okay, not good.
I wouldn't trade him. I think it's the worst move. Yeah, I wouldn't trade him either there. So yeah, I got there. That's enough for the Warriors. I know we hang on them a lot with it, but it's one of my hometown teams, so I'm going to talk about them. They're a relevant team in the NBA. I still think that they have the potential to be a dangerous playoff team come that way, but they're not a championship team.
They're relative to the play-in for sure.
Yeah, and but even if they got in, let's say they got in Doug as a 6th seed, like they could upset a team, but they're not like they did last year, but they're not championship worthy right now still. So that's the problem is they just don't have that. They have to get that grit back to it. Nuggets starting to feel like they're Western Conference favorites.
I thought they always were. I mean,
you really felt like they were this heavy of favorites?
Going into the year, I thought they.
I feel like they're.
I thought they'd be the.
That's what
I felt like they'd be the Western Conference team in the finals. So yeah, I mean, I'm still riding with it. I mean, and they're doing this without their second best player. So yeah,
I mean, he came back the other night. He's back a little bit.
He's not playing tonight, though, is he?
No, he's not playing tonight. He played the other night, got 12 points. But yeah, he's still.
Yeah, so I mean, they're working him back in. It's not like he's full go.
No, he's not. They're down 14 right now to the Kings at halftime. Just to give people
that's
a
the Kings.
Yeah, that's the Kings. Kings are up there 14. So they got that going on right now. Let's look at that box score right now. Jokic has 18, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Sabonis, that's kind of an interesting matchup, right? Against Sabonis, he has 7 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Malik Monk, 10 points. And JaVale McGee, 8 points off the bench for the Kings. So right now, Kings lead 14 over the Nuggets. Nuggets, to me, still feel like that favorite because they feel like the most cohesive at this time. They have their stud, and they have Murray still in the bag. So I just kind of feel like they're in a good spot. And you look at the Thunder, Doug. You look at the T-Wolves, Doug. You look at the Magic. I don't think teams are getting like that far along with it. So I just feel like I don't know. I just feel like those teams still feel young to me. I feel like this is the Nuggets' time. Like if they're, I mean, okay, but I wrote down the Lakers to me, or maybe their toughest competition come the playoff time.
I don't know. I mean, they swept the same team. Like they swept the same Lakers team pretty much. I mean, okay. Question for you: because the Timberwolves are playing so well, are you a believer yet in the Timberwolves?
Well, I'm not quite
long term. You're not a believer yet?
Long term, I always worry about the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves have never showed me any history, but I feel like this year, if we're talking this year, I do like the way that they're kind of feeling a little bit more cohesive. I like the way Ant has taken the next step, which I think is covering some of the flaws that might show up come playoff time. Yeah. But I don't think long term, like Gobert, until Gobert proves he can play in a winning playoff series, Doug. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like teams that are smart, they hit the corner threes. That's what happens. And so unless he can make them pay on offense, which I don't think he will, I don't believe in them. I'm sorry, I don't.
That's fair.
If you're saying that next level.
Okay, out of these three teams, who would you buy the most stock in then?
All right,
Timberwolves, Thunder, Kings. Who would you buy the most stock in going forward this season?
Timberwolves, Thunder. That's great. It's so funny. That was one of my questions.
Is it? We can wait.
No. What I mean by that is I wrote down Thunder. I just do like notes. Thunder time actually now. So, but I was thinking about that at the same time. Is the Kings, have they peaked? Is this where they're at? Like, are they a 3-seed potential? Because I think right now I would take for this season, I really think I would take more stock in the Thunder. I think their upside is higher. I think the Kings maybe are older and they're smarter, but if you look at the talent at SGA, you look at Holmgren, I feel like there is a little potential gap. Who knows about the Giddey situation, whatever. But I don't. What I mean is, I don't know if he's even there. But I feel like the Kings. When I still watch the King plays, I worry about the Barnes angle come playoff time. I don't know if Monk. I think Monk's good, but I see slight playoff deficiencies there. So
But wasn't he good against you guys in the playoffs last year?
He was, but they didn't beat us, and that's my point.
But I mean, are you expecting them to beat you guys in their first time getting there though? I don't think. I thought that was their year of like you know how they always were like LeBron's got to get through. He's got to get there, and then he's got to get through Boston, and then he's got to get through Detroit. You know what I mean? I feel like that first year you're there, you're learning, and then maybe this year is when they could do it. If you know what I'm trying to say, you have to have that learning curve where your first time getting into the playoffs, you probably take that hard lesson. I think if anything, the way Monk played against you guys in his first playoffs was a good thing. I think I'm a big Malik Monk guy. I think he could contend for Sixth Man of the Year, but I think the Kings. I really like what they showed against you guys last year. I wouldn't want to see them in the first round if I had my options. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, like I hear what you're saying about the Kings, like because of like how you're usually the usual trajectory is what you said. You lose a playoff round, you're going to win the next year. The Thunder haven't done that yet. But what I'm saying, but the question you first based is to me, which team could go a little like which team? I'm trying to look at the peak of their potential.
Okay.
And SGA is at that potential, at the same potential Fox is right now. You know what I mean? So the difference is can Holmgren reach Sabonis's level? And then I like the Williams guy from Santa Clara. Like I really like his game. You know what I mean? I do like he's fit with the team if he's there. You know what I mean? So I do like those kind of thoughts with it. And the Kings, I do worry about the Barnes angle come playoff time.
If they make a move, do you change your mind?
Has to prove to me in the playoffs again.
Oh, I think I'm more out on Sabonis's playoffs than I am Monk, Fox. That duo.
But you got to be worried about Barnes. I mean,
if they make a move for a small forward, that could probably change your mind, right?
Like can they get like is Jeremy Grant available? Like, can we get something like him available?
That's a perfect player right there for what they need. Because he's a solid defender. He's a solid defender. He gets you 20. He's still young. He can grow with these other two guys. I like the Jeremy Grant idea. I don't know how gettable he is.
Andrew Wiggins for Fox. Andrew Wiggins. There's your small forward. That's good. No, I like that. What you said. But Thunder. And what was the other team you had there? Mavericks. The Mavericks.
No. I had the Timberwolves. Because I think because they've got Edwards with kind of grouped in with SGA, kind of grouped in with Fox. They're kind of in that same level of potential next superstars. I don't know. That's why.
So what team do you like more? You like the Kings more than?
I like the Kings because they got the experience last year a little bit more than OKC. And I'm really just impressed. I'm just really impressed with the Timberwolves this season. I don't know if that's going to translate into playoffs because the things you said, the struggles with Gobert. He's not. I think it's overplayed how bad his defense is in the playoffs, just because there's not a lot of centers who could legitimately do what people are saying he could do. It's Bam, it's Anthony Davis, and there's probably maybe two more. So I don't think it's that out of the norm. But I would say I would put the Kings first, Timberwolves second, OKC third, because the Timberwolves got this. They got experience in the playoffs last year too. Yeah. I like the experience factor that those two teams have already gotten that we haven't got to see yet from OKC. Chet Holmgren, we don't know. I mean, he's been fantastic, but it's going to be a different game in the playoffs. I would like to see it. And Gobert handled him the other night.
No, I hear you. They got my guy. That's my sports. What's up, fellas? I'm worried about Sabonis in the playoffs.
Yes,
we are. That's exactly what we were just saying. Like I am too. He's good, but like there's massive deficiencies there. You can see with him there. He's going at Jokic pretty good tonight. He's competing with him, but on a nightly basis, can he stay out of foul trouble?
We talked about it last week. That mid-range jump shot. Remember?
Yeah.
You brought up last week that top of that paint extended mid-range jump shot where he was scared to take it against you guys. That's Sabonis worried about in the playoffs. That's us. That's what that's my sports. Yeah. That's exactly what we talked about last week.
Yeah. No, appreciate you tuning in as well. That's my sports. Taking some time to tune into it and commenting in. Here at Double podcast. All right, Doug. I agree with that with the Kings with it. I wrote down they need another trade. That was my thing. I said Lakers could steal West come April. That was my note. I continue to watch them. There's just like there's some steal the West out there. The Nuggets are their competition. The other teams have some flaws. It's not like we're saying the Kings, Thunder, and T-Wolves are dominant teams. They easily could fall to a veteran team like the Lakers. So I feel like there's out there, especially with like the AD size that's out there. I wrote down another note for me this week. Pelicans, I feel like there's a potential for them to figure it out. And I'm not saying that they're a great team, but like I've always been fascinated by their talent. Like the Ingram factor, the Zion factor, the McCollum factor who's been out, the Herb Jones factor, the Alvarado factor. Like there's some pieces there that any coach would want to have. And they're 11-9 right now. They're kind of finding their way a little bit. Man, if they could ever just find a little way with Zion taking any type of leadership role with his game, gosh, they could really just be a scary team in the West and maybe actually kind of start to make a little bit of noise here. I feel like there's a place for them to make the playoffs this year. I didn't pick them last year. People thought that was crazy. They didn't make it. But this year I feel like there's a better chance for them.
I'm glad you brought up the Pelicans because I think they're right in that mix, like you said. I think that 6, 7, 8 spot is right in there, right where they're going to probably end up.
Yeah.
If they could get to that 5 seed, I think everything really meshed together really well. But I want to give a little shout out to Brandon Ingram. He's playing really good basketball this year, and he's been their go-to guy in the big moments. I know Zion. I don't know if he's ever going to be back to like Duke Zion, where it was just something it felt like you hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
And also they hit on the UConn guard Jordan Hawkins. That kid can play, and he can play right now. And that's the kind of guy you need. I've always been a big supporter of Herb Jones. He's just a fantastic defender, and his offense is a little bit better this year. They've got pieces. I'm the way you said that was perfect. They've got pieces. So
as I say that, they gave up 31 tonight to Kobe White.
Hey,
at the rough. I know.
Is the NBA not the most random thing though? Is the NBA's got to be the most random thing though? Like one night there's just a guy that he probably. Let me pull up Kobe White's stats real quick. Like, what does he average this season? It's got to be.
It can't be 30 points a game. I'll tell you.
He averages 14. He averages 14 this year, and all of a sudden he explodes. That's
no, for sure. Knicks owned the Raptors last night, buddy. What about your guy Brunson? I'm trying to figure him out. Like out of Villanova, I think he has that run with the Suns. And like I wrote it down as one of my notes. I wanted to talk to you about. I got it with CP on one of my guy out here in New York. Love his stuff. I like his Mets stuff too, by the way. Anyways, 7:30 stretch Variety Sports Network. CP, I agree with you with Brunson. Doug, I've been trying to figure it out. Like
he's really
I'm a big NBA historian guy. I'm like, where is he on that? Like, I don't know. Like he's a late round. I wrote down as the first guy who came tonight. They're not the same player, but I'm just trying to think of a guard. Is he in the Kyle Lowry field, or is he better than that? Like, I don't know. Like, is that where he's
like
at?
Toronto Kyle Lowry?
Yeah, not not.
No, I know. I'm just like when you said Kyle Lowry, I'm like Toronto Kyle Lowry, probably. Yeah, I would say he's probably a little bit better of a scorer. I'd say what's a better scoring Kyle Lowry?
I mean, it's like Baron Davis. I don't know, but Baron's bigger.
He don't have that bounce though. The bounce was different.
I'm just trying to figure out where he's at, like on that level. When I watch him, like he's not as slow as like a Sam Cassell. And he's the lefty. Nick Van Exel, I don't know, like, is that where he's at within a little bit? But like,
yeah, but
Van Exel could maybe get a little. I don't know. Van Exel to me was a little iffier, but I don't know that. I just try. It was an interesting comparison for me.
It is. It's a very interesting.
The Randall, Doug. Randall's been playing a little better. He has been playing a little better though. Yeah, you got to give him that.
The guy's shooting 28% from three. Please.
He is playing. And the thing about the Knicks is they're actually kind of entertaining. Sometimes,
they're a fine basketball team.
Yeah, they're actually kind of entertaining this year.
I just my problem with Randall is if he took out his 3 to 4 bad shots a game, he could be an efficient scorer. And it's just 3 or 4 shots a game. You're like, what the hell are you doing, man? We didn't need that. You swing that and move the ball. We don't need that. If he could just cut that out of his game, I think he'd be more well thought of for sure.
And Barrett continues to play pretty well with them. Yeah, off that again with that for them too. Like, and Robinson, who last year I fell in love with him in the playoffs. I was like, this guy just goes after offensive rebound who I'd want. Like, I mean, whatever. Maybe he's not the most efficient offensive player, but for goodness sake, he's going to give you a lot of extra possessions.
He's Bill Russell against the Cavs. I mean, it's insane. Nothing hurts me more than watching Mitchell Robinson play against the Cavaliers. Who needs to respect the most is Young, Jokic. Alperen's been fantastic.
No, I compared him to a Vlade.
Yeah, he's got that. Alperen. I mean, if Tyrese Maxey didn't exist, he would be the most improved player in the league.
He might, and there's still a long ways.
A lot of season.
RJ Barrett might make it stop it. I think I got it with it. Who needs respect? Sengun, the one thing about those guys, like I'm fascinated. I've always loved big guys that can pass. So you give me that, and I'm going to give you that. That's, to me, just automatically I'm going to love you if you're going to be a big guy that passes the ball for sure. So I love him. I'm still trying to find the perfect comparison. I mean, Van Exel maybe, but I still feel it doesn't feel right to me. So I'm going to have to kind of keep working on that one. I didn't see Kenny Anderson play enough, so those are guys. Greg Anthony, I feel like he's a way better scorer than Greg Anthony ever was. So I don't know. I got to look at it a little bit higher. Lowry was the first guy that popped up to me though. So
I don't mind Lowry.
Your Knicks are playing well. They're getting going, Doug, in the East. They are starting to play a little bit.
I'm worried about them. I am worried about them. They would beat the Cavs in a series, unfortunately.
Your Cavs are sucking it up a little bit right now too. They did win the other night. They lost to the Blazers right the other night, so that can't be a good loss. Are you trading Mitchell?
No, I don't think so.
Trading him to the Knicks.
They're gonna let him walk.
Trade him to the Knicks. Just trade.
Let's trade him now.
We trade him to the Knicks right now. You got to give him up.
What would we get from the Knicks?
Lauri Markkanen, how is he available?
Because the Utah knows that they can't win right now, and Lauri's too good to not get the pieces.
Warriors. Hello, that is a guy anybody should want him.
I mean, would you trade Wiggins and Kuminga for Lauri?
Yes. Yep. Now we're talking.
Oh, okay. Now I see where we're getting there. But that would solve your guys' problems right there.
A big guy that can shoot a little. Yes.
I mean, a guy he's just uber talented.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any picks left?
Probably not too many, but we could give a few. We could give a few up there. Okay. We haven't traded that many picks, so we would have some there available there. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't think the Jazz would do it with them, but I'll be curious. I think I can see a 3-way trade with Levine or something like that, maybe down the line.
That would be fun.
Like that happening. So a lot of ways to go there. CP, I have that down.
Question for you.
Coming in, tuning in there. I just wanted to shout out guys.
Tuning in. Oh, of course. I appreciate you guys. Everybody. I appreciate everybody.
Yep.
The comments have been great. I mean, I love the interaction. Thank you guys. Darren, question for you. Who would you rather get from the Bulls? DeMar DeRozan or Zach LaVine? My choice is probably DeMar because I think he's a little more consistent and he's a little more manageable than Zach LaVine.
I think in a trade I would still take LaVine. I think I still
because the upside.
I still think the upside. I still feel like he's younger. I just feel like DeRozan's quicker on. I don't know. I just would want LaVine.
I just feel like LaVine's such a child, man. Keep seeing these clips of him being just it just comes off as being a baby.
I can't disagree with that. He is, but like, come on. At the end of the day, you really want DeRozan at this point in his career over LaVine.
What's the knock on DeRozan though? He can't beat LeBron in the playoffs.
He's methodical. He just kind of gonna do his. You have to kind of ISO him a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, he's one of the best mid-range scorers in the league. He's a solid defender. I'm saying if he gets traded to a team that already has the first option, I'm not trading for DeMar if I need a first option.
I kind of feel like I'd want him off the bench at this point if I was a legit team a little bit. That's been my issue with the Warriors' play. I'd want him off the bench now, and he can't accept that role. But I feel like these guys, they're at the part of their careers, Doug, where it's like, is it better for the team if I'm a sixth man, but I can't be the starter, but it's better for the team? And I feel like that's kind of how I feel about DeRozan. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, DeMar is shooting 36% from three this year, only on 2 attempts, and he's 45 from the field. I think he could give a contender a boost. I don't know.
What team do you think what team would want him? Do you think he would go to the West? Like, are we thinking like this is, like I said, when you go to the West, you think of teams that need a trade. I mean,
the Lakers.
Lakers. Warriors. You know what I mean? Those are the
Warriors.
teams you're going to go
Miami,
right
like
away.
that's my sports
Miami.
just mentioned. Miami,
Kings,
the Kings would be really good.
Memphis, maybe
I think he'd help you guys.
OKC, possibly. I don't know. Dallas.
I mean, I think he could help a lot of teams. Dallas would be great.
Ooh, DeMar to Miami.
I think that'd be because that helps Jimmy. You don't have to worry. Jimmy can save his legs for
Heat
playoffs.
culture. Heat culture. We get the other Raptor, Lowry and DeRozan. Lowry and DeRozan together. Back together like they're a band of brothers. The Heat. Did they end up winning? I was just thinking about. Did they end up beating the Pacers tonight? Let me check on that.
No, Pacers won.
The Pacers incredible. 144-129. They continue to just score up the wazoo as well. Your boy Toppin, 22 points. Bruce Brown, 30.
He's played a lot better.
Naismith, 20. McConnell, 20. Mathurin, 16.
That's crazy.
Halliburton didn't even play today for the Heat. Butler did get 33. Richardson, 16 off the bench for them.
Nimhard and McConnell both had 11 assists.
Incredible.
That's nuts.
Incredible. The style of play has just been awesome for them. So if you went to Miami, that would be great if you ended up going there. I think the Heat, it'd be curious. I do feel like they might need a trade as well. That's not the most unthinkable thing out there. So we'll curious there. Boston though, all these teams have to be thinking about Boston. Boston, the Magic, as good as they are, these teams aren't thinking we can't take down the Magic come playoff team. And then the other team is the Sixers, right? Maxi's playing at a level where if you're not thinking about them, then you're not taking him serious enough. This guy is balling out. This guy is really playing at a high level. The way I call him a fundamental guy. His rip cut is unreal. His quickness to his jump shot is he's right there. It's just really good with his first step. Is just, I don't know. So I know that the Celtics are still above the Sixers, but that's where I'd rank it still at this point right now.
Who would you be more worried about playing against in a series? Bucks or Sixers right now?
I'd be more worried about the Sixers right now. Maxey, I feel like Maxey is really playing well, and Tobias Harris, you at least know you're going to get 15 points. Like I said, he's a Harrison Barnes factor. I'm not saying they're winning a championship, but I feel like you know that you're going to get something from him a little bit usually.
So you'd rather play the Bucks right now?
I think so. I think at this point I'd rather play the Bucks right now. I think
I'm
a little bit. I still like the Bucks, but if we're talking right now, I'm loving Maxey right now. I'm just loving the way he's playing.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Maxey's been fantastic. Little news drop.
And Embiid, by the way, just
little news drop. The Mavericks went on a 30-0 run in a 6-minute stretch of the OKC game.
I saw that they took the lead.
30-0 run in 6 minutes.
And somehow OKC still
and they're still going to lose. They're still going to lose. I thought that was an insane stat.
30-0, yeah, that is an insane stat. Oh, that is crazy. Oh, we got here. All right, Steve here. I'm worried about the 76ers. They need to get their groove back and try to win. I get you. I feel you on that. I know you. I know you're the Sixers guy here, so I appreciate your insight with it. My question to you as the Forsey with it, where do you see a roster spot with it? Oubre to me, he's always just been I know he had the accident this year too with it, so obviously, but I just feel I don't know, he's always kind of been a concern. Beverly, I know he is what he is. Covington, he's okay. Harris, he's okay. There is another upper echelon they need to get to a little bit here. Batum, Ball, but there is a little lack of depth there where you're it'd be nice if they could add a little bench piece a little bit.
Steve, like you're saying, I understand you being worried too. You guys are 2-4 in your last 6. At least you got a get right game against the Wizards here in a couple of days. That's rough. I didn't expect them to be 2-4 in their last 6, but they played the Cavs, they played the Timberwolves, they played the Thunder, the Lakers, the Pelicans, the Celtics. That's a tough run of games right there. That's 6 tough games in a row. So I do think, I would rather play the Sixers in a playoff series than the Bucks, but that's just me.
Melton's been decent for them as well, so he's got to pick it up a little bit, but he's been all right for him. So they got the Sixers there with it. With it. What do you think about the Mavs? We talked about them a little bit. Cuban selling the part of his. That was kind of an odd deal.
It was weird. It was. I did not expect that from Mark Cuban ever.
He still gets basketball operations, which is kind of an odd transition. This is something that's going to play out over time, obviously. But $3.5 billion, I guess that's a lot of money when you buy it for what? What do you buy it for? $25 million or something like that?
Yeah, it was insane.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So obviously he made his profit on that thing. So I have that as a little bit of news this week. I'm still fascinated by that East. That Sixers, that top four is still going to be interesting with the Heat.
Very.
It's just like and then your Cavs. I still want to know what your Cavs are going to do with Mitchell. I don't know. Like I feel like you guys might be. You even said it. You said Garland and him don't play off each other the best. And if you know Mitchell is leaving, why play it out? I mean, why play it out to get eliminated in the first round?
I don't know either, but that's the problem is if you know somebody's leaving at the end of the year, you're not going to get anything back for him either way. So I don't know. I don't know if there's a positive. What's the positive of trading him if you're not getting a piece back?
You think
what would the Knicks give us? What do you think the Knicks would give us for Garland right now?
I wouldn't trade him. I just would think somebody else would want to give you at least a first round pick for him or something like that. So that would be something like the thing with the NBA is you don't get the NFL trades.
Give me Lou Dort.
First round pick.
Give me Lou Dort, one of the Williams brothers or Williamses, and
a first rounder.
And a first rounder. And
one of your 95 first rounders, OKC. We'll take one of those.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's tough. I just don't know where you would go.
You and your boy Dort. You love your guy there. So that's my kind of idea with that. What do you think about the KD? He passes Moses Malone 10th all time in scoring. Just as we talked about him a couple weeks ago, I said he was getting close to that. So he's getting right there. He's got Shaq, I think, up next on the list. So we'll see if he can get there. He's about 1,000 points away from him. KD just an all-timer, so he ends up getting 10th all-time. The other day passes Moses Malone there. In-season tournament. All right, real quick with it. We got the quarterfinals coming up here a little bit. You got Lakers, Suns, Kings, Pelicans in the West. Bucks, Knicks, Pacers, Celtics. So kind of some fun little matchups there.
Yeah.
Maybe some pros and cons about the tournament as it moves on. Would you like to see some stuff different? What have you liked about it? Maybe some of the matchup things there you like as well.
I think, if anything, it's giving us some interesting matchups on these games. I mean, we're getting an extra Lakers and Suns game. That's always a fun matchup. You know, the potential of KD and LeBron and just Booker and all those guys, AD out there. And then, how are you seeing this breaking down? I'm gonna go Celtics versus Suns in the finals. What are your thoughts there?
Celtics versus Suns. The Pelicans Kings one is a fascinating game to me too.
Yeah,
that'll be kind of a fun one too. Celtics. I kind of like this. I like the Pacers to get to the finals.
Really?
And I like it to be Pacers versus Kings. Halliburton versus Sabonis. That's what I want. Halliburton and for that.
Halliburton versus Sabonis or Halliburton versus Fox.
Well, you can look at it either way, but they got traded for each other.
We talking trades here? What are we doing?
But that would be fun, right? To me, that
would be fun for a narrative. That would be a narrative.
That's the juiciest matchup, just for storylines.
That would be a very fun narrative. Yes,
I'm going to be honest. That's the one I'm pulling for, and so and who knows? In a one-game elimination at this part of the year, I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go Kings Pacers.
Okay.
Like the Pacers could beat the Celtics in one game. Like they could do that one. So I don't think series. Hell no. But you're at home, so who knows?
I like it. I think it's fun. I'm going to stick with Celtics Pacers because I think they're the two best teams that are left. So I'm going to go with them. But I do think Kings and Knicks or Kings and
do you want Lakers Celtics?
No, I don't think I care any. I don't think that rivalry even matters anymore.
The Lakers Celtics rivalry has hit an all-time high. The in-season tournament is on the line.
That's what re-sparks the rivalry is the in-season tournament. Oh man!
I hope that would make me puke. Knicks Kings, that'd be fun. A lot of people. I think the Kings would be a fun matchup. The pace they play out would be a good one there. I think the Suns Lakers. Everybody's expecting them a little bit, so I think it'd be fun to kind of see somebody from that lower half of the Kings Pelicans maybe get a little run going. It's just so one of those other teams don't get. It's tired to see. It's not necessarily always exciting to see LeBron and KD win everything out there. So same thing if Curry was in it as well. So yeah, that would be a fun matchup. I think Knicks Kings. I appreciate that with Steve tuning in with that there. That's my sports. The Kings Celtics. That would be fun as well. That would be a really fun matchup for a one game. Kings Celtics. That'd be great.
Yeah.
So I feel like the good with it also, Doug, has been like the players seem like they're pretty into it for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, besides the points, the point differential things like that.
Yeah, what do you think about that? I wrote that down as kind of like my iffy thing. Like that thing
it'll probably get
hilarious to me. The Warriors are up 9. Curry, they run a play 3.
I mean, weird. I think that'll get changed. I just don't like if you're beating a team by 20 and it's the fourth quarter, or late in the fourth, you're not going to keep your guys in just to get the point difference.
Well, that's the Europe theme they're trying to go for. Like I said, that
I know, but we had a war in 1776 to get away from that.
It's kind of fascinating.
I just don't. We've already heard players complaining about the point differential thing, so I just don't think it's going to be going forward the same.
That's funny. I'm not sure. Like it'll be interesting to me what happens with it. Like so. That was the part I didn't like. I thought was kind of I wrote down as bad, but I don't know how I quite feel about it yet. Like that plus minus, it could be fun. Come a few times during the next few years. It could be like I said, like +7, and a team hits a 3, like an unnecessary 3 where you called a bad beat. Now I always think of Chris Duhon back in the day. He had a 3 there, so he got there with it. So I had those as one of my things with it going on this week. The other thing I was going to get into is a little bit of the standings, check, like we always like to do here. Real quick with it. So the standings, if we kind of look at the Celtics continue to lead the East. No shock there. Like we said, Magic, Bucks, Sixers, Knicks, Pacers, they round out that top 6. Your Cavs are in the 8 seed there. Hawks, they're fun to watch, but 9 and 10 still, like they said there. Pistons, Doug, on a 17-game losing streak. Did not win a game in November. Incredible.
One of the worst teams in NBA history.
Unbelievable. Wow.
What's the least amount of wins? What's the least amount of wins in a season?
I think it's
8.
I think it's the 9. I think that's what it is. I think it's
9.
I think that's what it is. 9 wins by the Sixers.
History watch. We're on history watch.
This is the worst stretch since those tank teams with the Sixers as well. So that's the type of
the trust the process teams.
Trust the process teams there. So that's how bad this run is on with this team as well. Timberwolves continue to lead the West there. Nuggets, Thunder, Suns, Kings round out and Mavericks round out the top 6. Warriors, Blazers, Jazz, Grizzlies, Spurs would be on the outside there right now in the West. So a lot of things still to be told here in the Western Conference moving forward. We'll see, Doug, with that going on there. The other thing I kind of wanted to get into real quick was I like to do like these little look backs once in a while at old trades and stuff like that. And I thought we could do a little look back since we were kind of talking about the Magic doing well and stuff like that. We could do a little look back at a trade that happened back in when Dwight Howard got traded to the Lakers, and just one of the most fascinating trades in a while. Like if you look back at it, like it just. I think it happened in 2010. Yep, 2010, August 10th, 2012. It went down, and he gets traded over to the Lakers in a 4-team trade. Bynum ends up with the Sixers. Iguodala ends up with the Nuggets. Afalo also ends up with the Nuggets as well in that trade. Bynum at the time is looked upon as a great center, kind of from the Lakers. They get Howard though. Kobe's excited about the deal. At the time, he's loving it. He's telling Howard how much. They're going to be good. He has the back issues. Howard does the weird thing the year before where he kind of announces at the game he's staying with the Magic. Just an odd thing all the way to go around. And in some ways, maybe the Magic ended up making the best part of the deal if you look long-term and of all the pieces they got with Vucevic and then ended up trading him for Wendell Carter Jr. So, I guess at the end of the day, they did. But I always think of the Nuggets for that 1 year where they didn't make it past the first round, but man, they were really good with Iguodala for that one season where they won 52 games with him when they played at that high pace in Denver there under George Karl. So you look at that, and then for the Lakers, it just never worked out. He was okay, ended up with a few good seasons, 12, 20, but there was no chemistry with Kobe, and Steve Nash was always going down at that time. It just was one of those trades where when I look back at it, I just wonder if we had to do it over again, like how much different Dwight Howard's career would be if he maybe went to a different team that he actually wanted to, because he was one of the more sensitive stars that we've had in the NBA recently.
Yeah. Do you consider that run for the Lakers? I mean, that's got to be one of the like most talented groups of people that just never worked. Powell, Kobe, Steve Nash, Dwight. I mean, is there 4 higher profile guys that just were not good together?
I mean, you could say that. I mean, the one with the Nets, I guess, but that wasn't 4. Was that what we had with Durant? Was it with Durant, Irving, and Harden last year and stuff like that? But yeah, I'd say that's probably right up there with it, because I would say because I remember when they made that trade, I was like, that's unfair. I was like, because the Lakers were always winning and stuff like that. It felt like, here we go, another trade where this team's going to go to that, go to the Lakers and make a difference. But there was this weird thing with Howard, and Howard. That's why this trade to me is always fascinating. Is everybody was looking at it as Howard and Bynum. And you kind of look at it, and Iguodala ended up being the best piece out of the best player in that whole trade. I feel like it just what I mean.
Are you saying besides Dwight?
Well, from that point on, I don't think Dwight was the better player. What I'm, what I mean, in some ways.
In Houston, he had to have been.
No, I don't think
he was still 18, 12, and 2 blocks.
But I remember the Warriors playing him in the playoffs. Like maybe he was a little bit better, Doug. But like if you watch those, like he was stiff. He was like taking bad shots. Like he was missing free throws at a high rate. He was a very kind of I need the ball type of player when he didn't always need to be in. That's where I'm looking from a coach's standpoint. And Iguodala is doing more of the Swiss Army knife stuff, doing the team player stuff, and like that's the part with it. So I don't know. Harden, Howard, they were good though. They did make that run all the way to the Western Finals where they played the Warriors in 2015, and they beat the Clippers when they were down 3-1 in that series. So I'm not taking that away. He was still solid on that team, and he probably was better than Iguodala. But I'm just saying from that point on in that trade, there could be an argument made Iguodala might have had a better run from that point on, especially if you had the playoff success he had on and Howard didn't with health. But before that, obviously he was. But I just feel like when you look back at the history of that trade, the Sixers part always fascinates me because they gave up Iguodala in that trade, and they end up with Bynum, and they get royally screwed.
The Bynum part
play for him.
Outside
of a couple, you know what I mean? And he couldn't, and he was a solid player at that point. Before that, with the Lakers, he was a good player. Kobe, loved playing with him. Some people were making the argument, Doug, he was one of the top 3 centers in the league.
I mean, he was definitely in the conversation for there.
So I don't know. The Sixers standpoint always been fascinating to me in that part of that deal too. It's just what they ended up, just the fact that they didn't give up. They had to give up Iguodala, but Iguodala was always one of those players I know Sixers fans had trouble with because, as you know, he's not going to go score 24 points. Like that's not going to be his thing. Like he's going to be doing like what he does. So to me, that's one of the more fascinating trades all time. Melo trade to the Knicks. Yeah, we did one with that too, and that trade to me is also one that's one of the more interesting ones because I think if the Knicks isn't the thought process that with that they should have waited to the offseason.
Yes, because if you recall, Amari Stoudemire was having an insane season. He was averaging like 26 and 10, and he was like in the MVP conversation. And then they traded for Melo, and his season just dropped off. I mean, it was definitely an interesting move. Just to circle back to your Dwight Howard against Iguodala, I mean, that first season in Houston, he was all NBA second. He was all NBA second team. And in the playoffs, he averaged 26 and 14 when they lost to the Rockets or the Blazers in the first round. I mean, Iguodala is probably the better teammate. I just think it's hard that he was a better all-around NBA player at that point.
It's a weird thing when you look at players like Iguodala and Howard because my thought process is yes, Howard might be the better player, but I don't know. There are certain things, you know what I mean? There are certain things. There's less. Sometimes less can be more. And I feel like I'm not saying you're wrong. I think you're right. I think you're probably right. If you look at the stats, I know he was an all-star that first year, so you're probably correct. But the way that I'm taking some of the playoffs probably into factor too a little bit, and they played in that round in 2015. Iguodala was quite good in that Houston series as well. Howard was good too, but there's that famous game one where Harden throws the ball to Howard with 3 seconds left at the top of the key in game 1, and Howard's like, "What the hell?"
Yeah,
Throws it, like right how he throws it like right back to him, and then the Splash Brothers double team Howard or Harden, and he turns it over there, and they win the game. As the clock runs out, so that's a good look back, by the way. Game 1 in that series, back to that Melo trade real quick. That one to me also was such a polarizing trade for the NBA at that time, because here's a superstar that was just it was kind of in that same time frame as Howard, where like these guys are just, you know what I mean, like bullying these teams out of here.
So at the time when the Knicks did the Melo trade, since we brought it up, the Knicks ended up getting, it was a 3-team trade, right? Melo, Chauncey Billups, a couple other smaller pieces, Ronaldo Bachman, Sheldon Williams, Anthony Carter, and then they also got Corey Brewer.
Yep.
Denver got Mozgov, Chandler, Danilo and Allegari, Raymond Felton, and some picks. And then obviously Minnesota ended up with Anthony Randolph and Eddie Curry plus $3 million. So what are your thoughts on that trade? Because to me, the Knicks made the right move. I just think it kind of messed with their team chemistry for that year.
I think anytime that was the Marbury one you said?
No, that was the Melo one.
The Melo one when they gave up. Yeah, no, I think that trade was I always felt like it was a bad trade because I felt like they gave up so many decent pieces.
Yeah, like a lot of depth.
That was always the part when I was like, yeah, but they're giving up so much. Like I felt that was the part that always never really made sense to me, because if he was going to go to the Knicks anyways, he should have just waited. He would have had all these teammates that he would have needed come playoff time. And they had that one decent run there where they made the second round. But other than that, they never were able to make a real run there with the Knicks. And they had J.R. Smith. They had a few pieces. Yeah, but it was never enough, though, for them to go over the top. Jeremy Lin late. No, I'm just kidding. They had him, so they just couldn't get that trade. To me is always kind of an interesting one. But
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Do you think Carmelo Anthony's play style is what kept him from getting further? Like, do you think, like, do you consider Melo, like, after he left Denver, do you think he kind of got lazy and wasn't a player on both ends? Like, what held him back from getting to that next level that Dwayne Wade, LeBron, some of his peers got to that he couldn't get to?
I don't think he was ever the defensive player.
But see, in Denver, I remember he used to battle against the Lakers and stuff in the playoffs.
He's not as fast as them, though. Like, there is this part of like the game where like you steal. Like he wasn't. Like, he could get a steal and go for a layup. I'm just saying there was a dynamic factor that you have to say Wade and LeBron had a little bit more over them in terms of like air athleticism. Like in the air, they were going to be a little bit more athletic most of the time than Carmelo. And on the defensive end, they were usually more consistent. I always thought that was the biggest part of them. They could man up on defense a little bit better. And on offense, Carmelo did need to ISO a lot. And sometimes, like Wade and LeBron, you never had to run a play for him.
Do you think Melo's career goes better if he goes to the Pistons and gets to play with those guys?
It's still one of the worst. I still cannot believe that pick that they made.
Because I think the Pistons probably win another title with Melo, right?
I think it goes better
because you could have played him at the 4 with Prince on the floor too.
Even as a rookie, he's going to get Larry Brown. I know doesn't play rookies, but like he's maybe he's doing more than Darko is. Let's put it that way.
Oh well, of course. I mean, I'm just thinking from he could have probably got a championship if they just drafted it. That's probably one of the better what ifs. I'm saying he could have got a championship.
Oh yeah. He
with Pistons. Yeah. I'm saying, but that's kind of one of the biggest.
It's one of the biggest what ifs
because. It's just a waste of a pick when you could have had Chris Bosh.
That's one of the most
probably would have great too.
Ever.
Yeah, for sure. I just felt like his career just never got to the point where it could have been. Remember, I mean, he took Syracuse to the national championship. I was like, he's just going to keep going, and it just never got back to that point.
Like I said, I think he didn't quite evolve as much as he needed to, as emotionally as well. Like I think he could have came off the bench a little bit more. Like I think Clay could do right now for the Warriors. I said, like kind of accept the role a little bit more. Like there is if you can do that, I think you can extend your career a little bit in a good way. And that can be hard to do ego wise. So I think that was part of it. So I think that Howard trade was good because it brought up a lot of things. And I feel like that's why we do the look backs here. That's why I love that stuff, because It shows the history. One of my favorite guys of all time and that was involved in that trade. My guy, one of the only guys who would be back-to-back slam dunk champions. My guy Jason Richardson, he went to the Sixers in that trade as well. Had a few good years for them, and then went to the Suns. Had a couple of decent years as well. As he kind of moved on there to a few different teams at that point. So so Richardson ends up there in that trade as well. Howard, though, you look at that trade, though, it went a lot of different ways, Doug. I mean, you talk about a lot of drama that went up before that to that Howard trade, and what was made out of it really wasn't very much. At the end of the day, like not too much. No, there's not been too many championship swings because of it. There hasn't been any like massive, huge difference. Maybe a little bit. Maybe the big difference is Iguodala goes to Denver and he gets to see Curry and Clay in person and lose to him, and he signs with them. And maybe that's the only thing that came out of it was that that extends a dynasty. But other than that, like there really isn't too much that comes out of it. For me, Bynum's injury was a big one too. Looking back at that as well. So I thought that was kind of fun looking back at some of that trade, the history there in the NBA, and kind of gives us a good perspective on it. So, any final thoughts on that?
I thought that was a fantastic conversation. I thought we went a couple different ways there. It was nice that obviously the chat kind of commented in and brought up the Melo, so we could kind of touch on that too. I love that topic. That's a fun topic. I think.
And if you have any other trades, we should look back at.
Yeah,
too.
We should. We'll definitely do some more research.
What's one that comes to your mind that you were thinking about? Remember, I told you to think. Like for me, there's another one. What was it? It's the Marbury Kid one. Where Marbury goes from. Marbury goes to the Suns and Kid goes to the Nets, and then
the Nets go to the title. Yeah, and then the Nets go to the championship, and Marbury kind of
is a better player.
Well, of course, I mean he's a top 6, 7.
But that was kind of a weird trade back then.
It was. I think that's one we should look into because I think that's a fun one because Marbury, I don't know if his style was ever going to be championship or winning basketball.
Yeah.
But I did want to bring up Jason Richardson because obviously you're a Golden State fan. What was that like when you guys drafted him 5th coming out of Michigan State where he was just insane?
It was funny because I was kind of still, I was like sophomore year when he got drafted, maybe
2001.
Yeah, so I would have been a sophomore going into my junior year. So I do remember watching that game versus Florida in the championship game and that. But I didn't watch a ton of Michigan State at that point. But I knew who he was. And then, but I just remember the Warriors were so bad. I mean, they were not. They had Jameson was their best guy, and I remember Richardson hit this like fadeaway baseline, and I was like, "Hey, the Warriors haven't had a player that could ever do that." Like with the shot clock running down, like turn and make his own shot, like without being set up for a shot. And I was like, "Oh, he actually might be pretty good." He was obviously limited to certain things, but he got way better at shooting threes.
Yeah,
he became a really good 3-point shooter. Like that was one thing that you would have told me at the beginning, you would have thought he would have done that, but he was the only reason I went to games sometimes. And one of my favorite moments, like me and my buddy Adam and Brian went to this game at the old Oracle Arena, got their tickets. Like I have it in my back here, $20 tickets. We sit up there, and that was the play. You've probably seen it maybe on the highlights where Arenas bounces it off the ground and Richardson is able to dunk it. And so like there's some fun stuff. And him winning those dunk contests was like the greatest thing because you're talking about a franchise that hadn't made the playoffs for over like 15 years. So,
well, I pulled it up. I was looking at it. He wrote a letter to the fans apologizing for not making the playoffs. And I guess you guys hadn't made the playoffs in like 12 straight years at that point.
Yeah,
that's kind of crazy responsibility. That's my sports. The Brooklyn versus the Brooklyns and Celtics trade that resulted in the Celtics getting to draft Brown, Tatum, and all those guys. That's an all-time fumble by Brooklyn to get Paul Pierce after he was done, KG after he was done. Oh man, that was rough.
The Garnett one is kind of a fascinating one too.
The Minnesota to seize.
Yeah, just to kind of see. That'd be kind of a fun one to kind of see.
His Minnesota days were so fun though. Like his individual talent at that time was just wild.
Do you remember who got traded from Boston to him? Like the main piece?
Was it Al Jefferson?
It was the post-up Al. He was pretty solid for a few years. Though.
I always liked Al Jefferson's game. At one point, like he led the league in post touches consistently, and that's such a beautiful stat. Like Al Jefferson, I mean, he's a good offensive player. I mean,
he was.
Because
That was-
wasn't Randy Foye involved in that trade somehow too?
Yeah, he was. That's a good call. That Celtics one though. I like that he said that though. That's a good one there on that one too. Your Cavs. Which one? That is there? A what if with your Cavs in a trade like that? What's the biggest trade? The Love one.
Well,
That's
yeah,
one
but
you
I think
think?
that also is fun though because we got Kevin Love. Minnesota gets the
Trade
first
Wiggins.
pick and gets Wiggins, and then eventually trades Wiggins to you guys, where he gets to go on and play for championships. So I think there's some layers to that.
Yeah, there's some fun trades in that where you look at it and you're like, man, what if Weber? I mean, like you got like the Warriors trade. The Warriors get Weber. They trade him to Washington. Then Washington trades him to Sacramento.
What was the beef between Weber and you guys?
Him and Nelson didn't get along.
But
And the
that's
Warriors-
weird to me because I feel like his
you
game
would
would have
think
been
so.
good. His game was perfect for Don Nelson though.
Yeah, well, I mean, Nelson, was kind of he rubbed some people the wrong way a little bit with like the way he would kind of try to keep you. And Weber was a little bit independent at that time with his things too. So
who else was on your guys' team at that point?
They had Mullen still on there. They had Spreewell. That was they on that team. They had Hardaway, but he was out that year. They made the playoffs, but they got the 8 seed. That was the year they lost to Barkley when he got the famous 50. Was it 52 or 53? He got against the Warriors in that game. Unstoppable. Don Nelson refused to double team, and he chewed up Billy Owens. So he chewed up Big Billy there for a lot of. Oh, Billy,
We're not doubling.
Chewed up Billy.
That's like the most prideful thing. We're not doubling. If he scores,
man,
he scores
they even
60.
say it. And back in those days, you couldn't. You could post up for 9 seconds. Like
you could just be down there. Yeah,
he would just be down there like back at it. So and he didn't fade away. I think he had like 25 points in the first quarter. Barkley in that game. It was a great game though. It's like it went to overtime. It was like 135, 132. It's a classic kind of game. It's always on NBA TV there. Come the off season there. So yeah, there's some fun trades right. I know the Nash signing there. It's not quite a trade there, so that's not one there. I can go down. So a lot of fun trades for us.
Nash for Kid, right?
Yeah,
Nash for Kid, the Dallas trade.
No, that was they signed him in that trade. They didn't actually get traded. They signed him. They let Nash go, and he signed with. But
then they get Jason Kidd. That's so
a few years later, they do get him in the trade there. So there's a couple good ones. We had a few what ifs. There's a good trade the other day. What was it? Cousins and when Cousins went to the Pelicans and then he got hurt, we always kind of wonder what would happen with that one as well. Me and my guy were playing William there with it. So yeah, a lot of fun kind of trades out there that were just kind of what ifs that like always happen over the years. So that will be stuff that we'll probably continue to dig into over time here on the show. As we're getting close to over an hour here on the pod, I wanted to do what we always do here on the show, Doug, here is our on this date in history, as we appreciate everybody that's been tuning in here on Variety Sports Network. Hope you're appreciating our Charlotte Hornets background randomly. I can't fix it, so hope you're enjoying that.
Good.
Well, hey, I was looking at on this date in history, 2021, I forgot it was 2 years ago, the Memphis Grizzlies beat the Thunder by 73 points, 152-79. And it's still a record. Unbelievable. I forgot about that. 73 points. You talk about getting spanked. That is the definition of it.
Who did the Thunder start that night?
Let's see if I can look it up at this point. I'll try to look it up, but we'll see. The box where the Thunder started: Ty Jerome, Trey Mann, Dort, Jeremiah Robinson Earl, and Darius Baisley, Paul Watson, Isaiah Roby, Gabriel Deck, somebody named Pakazaki, and Mike. What's the guy from the Hawks? Mike. Mike Muscola or Muscola.
Muscola, yeah.
He got that's who started that day for him. So that was their starting lineup. I
just don't see Lou Dort letting that happen. I just don't see it. I just don't see Lou Dort allowing that. So I doubt that actually happens.
A minus 56 for Jeremiah Robinson Earl. That game, minus 56.
Did he go to Georgetown?
I can look it up. I'm on the reference. If that is Villanova, but Big East knowledge close.
It's all the same. They're all.
Yeah, I've been enjoying some of the college conferences as well. There with that, I posted a great picture before he came on with my guy Georgetown. Georgetown's uniforms. I always wish they're a little better. Xavier, you're underperforming for me right now, Xavier. Let's get your act together a little bit here. Hey, last thing here is wrapping it inside on this date. I had a couple others for us. Like I said, that one stood out to me. Dirk. scored 53 points on this night in 2004. Nick Van Exel dished out 20 assists on December 2nd, 2000. And our guy, Dikembe Mutombo of the Nuggets, blocked 10 shots on this night in a win over the T-Wolves. And Wilt Chamberlain of the San Francisco Warriors scored 59 points. He could be on this date history if I really wanted to get him on it every week. So a lot of fun things there in the NBA. Doug, we always say it every week. Oh, there might be some things. Well, what are we going to talk about? It's always an hour of stuff we could talk about in the NBA.
All of a sudden, we're just talking about like something to do with basketball. I don't know. It doesn't feel like it goes an hour, and then I look up the clock and I'm like, holy crap, we've been going for a long time. I love it. I love it. We just get to we get to flow, and it just goes in different directions, and it's always fun. I never leave here. I'm like, that wasn't great. I feel like we do a good job every time because we get to just talk and just talk NBA.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's great.
And there's a lot to go into in the NBA. There's always like some drama points to it. I appreciate when our guys CP in New York tune in. I appreciate our guys that new this week. That's My Sports. Thank you for tuning in.
Yes, of course.
Steve, saw you on Variety Sports Network doing your thing with the Sixers. Mad respect going out there with it. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's help our double podcast grow. We need you guys to help it grow. I put more time into these things than we should, but we need your help with it. Appreciate you guys liking and subscribing to it, chatting on it. It kind of makes us feel like we're kind of part of the game with it. So every week there's going to be something coming here on with the Double podcast. We're getting close to Christmas time. Those Christmas Day games, we'll get into
Can't
those
wait
as
to talk
well.
about those.
Coming up. We're getting closer to trade deadline. All that stuff. February is not too far away. So All-Star break, all that stuff. So it starts to get a little bit fun here. And like I said, now that I got my NBA channel working again, the network, my app, to be able to keep up on my games a little bit. Doug, we're going to be continuing to do look back, sir. We're going to do that. I got to get my guy Trevor on. He loves stuff like that. So we got to get some stuff on there with it. So that'll be fun, Doug. Another good week here on Double, my man.
Yes, a great week, Darren. Appreciate you. That's My Sports. What's your days and times for the podcast? We've been going Saturdays more recently, Darren. Is that kind of our day now? I enjoy. I don't mind it.
I don't mind the Saturday. I think maybe going forward, that might be our best thing at night here. I think we'll have to keep the Friday open once in a while.
Hey, I'm not against the Friday. I'm not against the Friday.
I think the Saturday is the one we should shoot for, but look for us probably on Saturdays or occasionally on Fridays. Those are the days you'll look for us. We'll try to give you a little bit more heads up. We're both living kind of busy lives here with the kids, so we'll try to do our best here to kind of keep the media stuff going. That's the hardest part of the podcast game for me, Doug, is kind of like the marketing part of it, the marketing side of it. But I know you got a lot going on right now, so I know you kind of push back on a few things. I know that could be tough, but I understand the call there with it. I know you've decided to stay on here at Double to Double. Like I said, hopefully we can kind of continue to make something happen with it and just kind of make it easy. And like I said, people appreciate you tuning in and making a good experience for both of us here on the show. And that's the goal here, bringing it week in and week out here, looking into the NBA. So, Doug, like I said, I have no intro tonight, so I'm just going to hit that edge street here. It's going to end quickly when it does. But thanks for tuning in here. If you've been tuning here on Variety Sports Network.